going on, everybody? The TheAireaidLord is here, and welcome to another vlog for the channel. I know it's been a little bit since I've made one of these. Just been busy with kind of housekeeping stuff. You know, a lot of different things going on. I'm just getting towards a busier time in the year. A lot of transitions coming up, which I might talk about in a separate vlog that doesn't have to do with The Walking Dead. But yeah, I wanted to do this because it's been a while since I've done a vlog for the channel. So for this vlog, I wanted to talk about some of the characters that we think are going to die in Season 8. And this is some of my predictions just based off of what's happened in the show so far, but also based on some when I'm going to change the intro for the vlogs, like the intro that you guys see with Negan with the baseball bat, and then the new intro that I did for the second half. I've already said that I'm going to change it up once we get to Season 8. But I want to use footage, just like some snippets or something from Season 8 to kind of get the vibe of going to war and the next segment that's going to be occurring in The Walking Dead. So I'm going to hold off on making that, and then obviously right here we're going to have a change for the banner. Rather than the lineup, we'll have our characters kind of rising up, as was the tagline for the second half. So in terms of characters who I think are going to die, well, a lot of cannon fodder on both sides, I think. Lots of saviors, some kingdomites, maybe a couple of people from the hilltop, and then maybe 2 or 3 Alexandrians. Now, who do I think it's going to be? Well, we can either deduce Scott as one. We can deduce Scott, Tobin, and or Eric. These are 3 Alexandrians who have been in the series since the beginning, actually. Actually, Scott's character wasn't introduced till Season 6, but then Tobin and Eric have been in the series ever since Alexandria was introduced. Eric was one of the first characters we saw once his character was introduced. So I don't think, by the way, Aaron will be killed. He's basically one of the main cast at this point. He's been on more adventures with our main ensemble, with Rick and Daryl and the whole thing. So I think he's become too well assimilated. The reason I'm grouping Eric and some of the others into that category is because they don't get a lot of screen time. We haven't seen them with a lot of screen time. It was very out of the blue for Eric to get that scene in, I think it was episode 9 of Season 7, when he confronts when Eric confronts Aaron about what Rick's plan is going forward, and how Eric is concerned about Aaron getting hurt again. And then in episode 15, there's kind of like a follow-up to that where he's like, all right, I get it now. We're getting guns, we're getting weapons, we're going to fight the saviors. As long as I don't have to see you hurt, then fine, I'm down with that. So we don't get too much. In terms of Tobin, the only thing we haven't seen much of anything from him in Season 7. He's just kind of been there as just like a foot soldier. In Season 6, he had more of a role. We saw him in his relationship with Carol. And so when Carol leaves, he's kind of like the liaison and corresponds that to Rick. But other than that, not much. He had a scene in Season 5 when he's with Abraham on the construction team, and he kind of vouches that Abraham kind of took up the charge there. So other than that, like, we know Tobin's one of the main Alexandrians, but him, Scott, and Eric are like the ones that have been given screen time. There are other Alexandrians, just like ordinary citizens, and I think like some kids as well. But we don't really see them because they're not involved in like the gunfight. Some of them are. Some of them, if you see in the Season 7 finale, you can see in the background some of them when they're surrendering to the scavengers, the junk people. You can see some of them being, like, bound. You can see some of them surrendering. You can see some of their corpses on the ground when Jadis has a gun to Rick, and they're going to the field where Negan's going to supposedly hit Carl with Lucille. You see a bunch of corpses. The camera kind of pans, and you see a bunch of corpses of just random people we didn't even know, who are just killed on the line of fire in Alexandria. So there's still a lot of Alexandrians living there. There are still people living there, and they, they're affected by all of this. I guess you can see the shot of all the people who live there. I suppose the church scene when in episode 4 when Rick is telling everybody that he's not in charge anymore and that Negan is. And he's also trying to figure out where those guns are, the ones that Spencer hid. So you can see a shot of all the Alexandrians there. So yeah, I imagine one of the three is going to die. Either Tobin, Scott, or Eric. I don't know how. Maybe, again, considering they don't get a ton of screen time, maybe it'll just be in the line of fire. If there's a big battle at the Sanctuary, or there's a big battle at one of the outposts for Negan's men, I imagine that there's probably going to be one of them dying from one of those battles with a gun, or I don't know, a zombie. It could be the old cliche we've seen before, where the zombie just bites the person, and then from there that they're pretty much screwed. They sacrifice themselves, something like that. In terms of the Kingdom, we had 2 deaths in Season 7 for the Kingdom with Benjamin and Richard, and they were in terms of the Kingdomites that we know, they were pretty main characters. Now, the only other 2 Kingdomites that we have that are, I guess, part of Ezekiel's crew, we have Diane, which is the woman that has the bow and arrows. She has the bow, and then she uses a gun as well. And then, of course, Jerry, the very famous Jerry, who's kind of Ezekiel's right-hand man. He's got a giant axe. He's very funny. He's kind of had some goofy lines over the course of Season 7. I really don't want Jerry to die. I mean, I think he's a fan favorite, and I don't think that they would kill him so soon. He's only been in 1 season, and he hasn't gotten a ton of time. So I think it would be kind of incorrect for them to kill off Jerry so soon. Same with Diane. They haven't really given her much time. She had, like, 1 scene where she talks about, like, her sister liking a dress. I don't know if that zombie was her sister, but there's this kind of weird scene where she talks about, oh, I love that dress, and then my sister loved that dress, and other than being trusted to go on these little exchanges with the saviors, we don't know too much about her. In the finale, there's a scene where she's walking with Enid and Carl, and just kind of patrolling. So perhaps she'll be one of the random Kingdomites to die. Although there are more Kingdom soldiers, but a lot of them don't know about the deal with the Saviors. And I imagine that's a scene we're going to get. We're going to get a scene in Season 8 where Ezekiel makes this big speech to his people about the fact that they're fighting the Saviors. And Rick's probably going to be there, and Maggie's probably going to be there, depending how long she is with her pregnancy. And that's going to be a major scene in Season 8, because only Ezekiel's regimen, those people who go on those deals, know about it. And that was the small group that he brought to Alexandria to turn the tides. Every single one of those people had been on the supply runs before. At least I think so. I think maybe there was like 1 or 2 hadn't been, but Ezekiel probably just got them caught up to speed or something. So, yeah, I imagine maybe 1 or 2 will die. I'm less inclined to think Kingdom soldiers will die because they haven't been in the show for that long. Again, like I said, Alexandria soldiers and the Hilltop, just random people from the Hilltop. Now, a lot of people have predicted that Shiva's probably going to get the axe in Season 8 too, and I have to agree. And the main reason I say that is because it's expensive to do the tiger with the CGI. It's not a real tiger, in case you guys didn't know. But it gets expensive, so I don't think the show's going to want to keep her in for too long. It was cool to see the scenes that we did have. We saw the scene where Daryl and Shiva are kind of bonding when she's in the cage. We've had her on stage when Ezekiel's been introduced. And then, of course, she made her giant appearance in the finale when she murdered 2 of Negan's soldiers just by pouncing on them and ripping them apart. So that was really cool. Everyone wanted to see that, the tiger in action, and we got it. I imagine we'll have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 more scenes in the big battles of Shiva killing zombies or soldiers or saviors or whatever. And something's going to happen that's probably going to kill her off. And that's probably going to have a profound effect on Ezekiel, considering that's his pet. Spoilers, just for a second, from the comic books. This does happen in the comic books. Shiva does get killed in a certain scenario when they're dealing with some of the outposts. So again, I think this is a circumstance where the show is going to follow along with the comics. So, end of spoilers. Now we can go to more predictions, I suppose. So yeah, in terms of... I'm trying to think. Now this is tricky for the Saviors, because I don't think Dwight's going to get killed, because Dwight is just turning to the side of Rick. And we saw this in the last 2 episodes of Season 7. So Season 8's going to deal with how he's going to be undercover helping Rick's side and what that's going to entail. So I don't think Dwight's going to die. Simon, this is tricky because I don't know if anyone saw, but 3 characters just got promoted to season regulars. Like, characters that are going to be, like, in the season that have a major presence. Enid, Jadis, and Simon. 3 of them. So... Now, what's confusing is I understand why Jadis got it, because she was only in part of Season 7, and now that she's like an antagonist now she's going to be in it for the stretch of Season 8. However, for Enid, she's been in the show since Season 5, so that's kind of confusing to me. Like, I already thought she was a series regular. Maybe she just didn't get enough scenes, and it didn't warrant that. So maybe they didn't give her the treatment yet for a series regular. And then so Simon's tricky because he had a presence in Season 7, but he was only in a few episodes. Like, there was only those episodes where he dealt with Gregory and the Hilltop directly. He was in one scene where he was looking for Daryl in Alexandria. Of course, he was there in the premiere when the brutal deaths happened. And then he was in he didn't have any dialogue. In the finale, he had 0 dialogue. It was just Negan just talking the whole time. All he did was take orders and fight back when he was being shot at. I do like his character. He does carry a lot of Negan's humor, and I think he's unique, and he's a perfect right-hand man for Negan. But would it make sense for him to die in Season 8? I want to say that he will. I think that's going to be one of the big deaths by the end of the war. Simon dying will probably piss Negan off, and that'll lead us into the final confrontations of the war and kind of make Negan lose his shit a little bit. Now, if you guys recall, in Season 5, they gave Gareth, the leader of Terminus, they gave him a series regular treatment. But he was only in the first 3 episodes of Season 5. He was only in No Sanctuary, Strangers, and 4 Walls on a Roof, and then he was subsequently killed off in 4 Walls on a Roof, which I was very surprised about. I thought he was going to last till the mid-season finale of Season 5. But instead they had to do that whole cop storyline in Atlanta with the hospital and all that shit. But I honestly, I didn't like that, and just in hindsight, I really think they should have expanded the... hold on, man, I'm gonna get some water. I think they should have expanded the termites. I really think they should have expanded the termites and given them more context. Now, I think we got enough context with them. They were cannibals, for lack of just a better term. I mean, that's the perfect term to describe them, but if I was trying to come up with anything else. So, Gareth got a series regular treatment and then was killed off in the 3rd episode of the season. Could we see something similar happen with Simon? Maybe. That's my prediction right now. I'm thinking Simon's going to get a Gareth treatment where they say he's a series regular and then he might get the axe. Now, Stephen Ogg, who plays Simon, was very excited about this, so I can't imagine he would get a series regular treatment and then just be killed off that fast. I like his character. Again, I would prefer to see him last longer, but for him, once the war is over and, I guess we're going to assume that Rick wins, what would Simon's role be? Like, he's going to fight to Negan. He's going to fight with Negan to the death. Like, I don't think he's going to, surrender or subjugate. Dwight's going to do that. We know Dwight will. And, Dwight's in a perfect position to take over the Saviors once the war is over. But Simon is still very much loyal to Negan. And we have seen no indication otherwise. There's no personal struggle. Because at least with Dwight, you had the whole thing with Sherry and with Daryl. So there was a lot of conflicting emotions going on there. But with Simon, we don't really know much about him as a character. He's just one of Negan's main lieutenants. So he's only been loyal. So that's in terms of the Saviors. I don't think Dwight's going to die. Obviously, Negan, no. He's, we just got to see him in an entire season in Season 7. He's pretty much the main villain of the series, if you guys didn't know. So I will say that he will be around for much longer. And Negan, and it's funny, Jeffrey D. Morgan kind of spoiled this. He was in an interview with, I think it was on The Talking Dead, and he was talking about the relationship between Negan and Carl, what we saw in Episode 7, and he says that in the years to come, that relationship will be important. Now, the years to come, meaning that he and Carl are going to survive, so, and again, if you're taking this in the context of the comics, then what he's saying makes sense. So, again, Negan definitely not going to die. I'm looking at one character in particular, if I had to choose like a main cast from our main cast who's had lots of screen time and development. I'm thinking Morgan maybe. I've seen a lot of people predicting this, but I think definitely Morgan. I don't think Carol, she hasn't had too much time. She was kind of out of the loop of everything in Season 7, and she just got back into the swing of the war, and I can't imagine they would kill her off. She's been... she's like Daryl. She's a fan favorite. She's a badass. I really don't think they're going to kill her off. Morgan, however, just had a very big change in terms of his mentality. But I almost feel like if he died in the war, maybe at the end of it, if he's dying, he could come back to his, all life is precious mentality, and then try to rub off a little bit of that onto Rick as Rick makes his final decisions as the war comes to an end. I could definitely see that happening. I wouldn't want it to, because Morgan's been in the series since the pilot episode. He hasn't been in all the episodes because, he was gone for a majority of the show and then came back. But I can definitely see that. Before we knew who got Lucille, I almost thought Morgan was going to be the one who was going to get killed by Negan, but he wasn't even in that scene. They took his storyline and fused it with the Kingdom, which ended up being very, very good. So I'm glad that they did that instead of putting him in with the Negan conflict. Yeah, I don't know how it'll go, because obviously there's kind of an arc that Morgan has to come back to. Can he come out of where he is? He's kind of stuck. He says this to Ezekiel in the finale. I feel stuck. Will he get unstuck? Or, will him dying be the way he gets unstuck? It seems like he is dedicated to helping Rick and fighting the war, but will he be killed on the line of battle? Will he change his mentality? These are things to consider. But I think I'm going to put him up there with one of the characters that is going to get the axe this season. There's going to be casualties, and if I had to think of some, it would have to be him. Now, some other wild cards, Tara, I don't think so, because she's kind of like an anchor character. She anchors us to the ocean side, so if Sydney and the rest of the ocean side women, like they do eventually, if they want to help and fight in the war, Tara's going to be the woman who is very good friends with Sydney, who's going to kind of connect the dots and make that happen. So again, I don't think Tara will. Rosita's had a bunch of chances for her to get killed. I mean, she tried to kill Negan. She tried again to kill Negan. She was shot in the arm in the finale, and now she's recovering in the hospital. So she's had a lot of screen time in Season 7. Of all the characters, they've given her a lot of time. And she didn't have much in the past, but Abraham's death kind of opened the floodgates for the show to be like, okay, now we can have some screen time with Rosita. And I was like, geez, all right. I mean, sometimes I haven't liked her character, but overall, I mean, they gave her time, and I don't think she'll die in the war. I don't think so. She's questionable. I mean, I'd say 50-50, but she's survived many different conflicts of Season 7. I don't think she'll die. Daryl is a no. Maggie definitely not, because she's having her kid. Aaron, I don't think so. Eugene is a question mark because he kind of betrayed the survivors, which he does not do in the comics. In the comics, he does get captured, but he's still loyal to Rick. So, but in this, it seems like he's on Negan's side, unless this is a huge long-term plan to fuck over Negan. As we did see, he did give Sasha the pills, but it was kind of out of mercy, to be honest. If he really wanted her to kill Negan, he would have given her a knife or some weapon, but instead he gave her the pills. So, and he said he was Negan in front of all those people. So, and Rick made the decision to blow him up. He's like, all right, well, this guy's not on our side anymore, and he was gonna blow them up if the scavengers / junkyard people hadn't sabotaged it. So, I don't know. He might die. I mean, his biggest contribution was making the ammunition for the guns and having all these kind of little tactics, zombie tactics, such as the smelting for the zombies that he tells Negan. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to him. Him, Morgan, and Rosita, I'd say, are my 3 questionable characters, main characters for dying this season. Everyone else, I think, generally safe, other than the minor characters that I mentioned earlier that we haven't had much screen time with, that if they died off, it would advance the story, but we wouldn't feel too much in the moment from it. So those are my predictions. I know the video went on for a little bit longer, but I haven't made one of these vlogs in a long time. I think the last one I made was on the Jadis-Negan relationship, so I wanted to kind of flesh this one out, give you guys some context, and yeah, that's it from me. I try to make more of these as well, also, face-to-face, because I have the webcam, and I use the webcam for the live reactions, so I figure, use it for this. So yeah, that's going to be it for me. Comment below about what you think about my death predictions and about what you want to see for future vlogs. Again, the summer is always tricky because there's no live reactions to do unless I'm going to do it for like Game of Thrones or something. And then right now I'm watching Better Call Saul Season 3, but that's kind of a hard show to react to. There have been some cool moments this Season 3, but it's been kind of hard to react to. So, again, suggestions, I welcome them. I know I have a good audience for some of this stuff, but I always welcome suggestions and feedback. So let me know. And as always, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.